My pal, when we were living together, he said the equivalent of something where it's like, oh, are you having trouble with indigestion? Let's go to White Castle and down a couple of sliders. That'll clear you out. You know what? I think what happened with your car is that you sat in a particular way that realigned the radiator, and it's not used to being in that position, so it started leaking coolant.
It could have, or I could have run over a giant hunk of ice that ruptured a hose or a line, most likely.
Yeah, that's too sciencey. Come on.
We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing programs beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, most times we go deep. I'm David Cameo, and I'm joined by
Cosmo Mom 09,
Lazy Gardener,
and Bridget. You can find me at youtube.com/@punkybrewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER.
Today we're here to talk to you about the 4th episode of Dark Wind's 3rd season, titled Chahalheel, which means Darkness Falls. So again, just to remind the audience, these are screener recordings, which means, unfortunately, because we like you, these are more closed than usual, aka no link to the studio was given to the audience to join us. And we've been recording day after day in some cases. In this case, we just recorded yesterday morning, the 3rd episode of Dark Wind's 3rd season. And here we are again, 2 p.m. on a Sunday, the day after. Let me just start off by saying this. I did mention this in our closed Discord because we can't really talk about this publicly until it airs. I had trepidation about covering this series, not because I didn't like it, but because I didn't know that there was going to be much to dig in on in terms of what we normally do with most series. Because most series are post-apocalyptic. We talk about scarcity and what it means to be out there alone. And you come to the conclusion that not everybody's a Daryl Dixon, that sort of thing. Most of us would probably run and hide, and the people that we do see on our TV screens are pretty extraordinary, and all the baggage that comes along with it, and how would they feel? How do you feel? And then murder mysteries in vaults and silos, those are fun too, and then we're solving those in those type of scenarios. But this series takes place in a sort of historical fiction reality with some spooky stuff. As a result of probably watching this last episode and every episode before that, just incrementally, I feel like I've really enjoyed it on a we go deep level that we normally do. And I really am glad that you guys prodded me to do this. So I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to every single episode that we cover because I really am excited to break each episode down. And I was wondering if you guys thought the same or differently, and especially you, Ray, because you had said in our first episode coverage that you were kind of like, I don't know if I like this.
What I love most about this show is that it gives me a reason to hang out with you guys.
It's cute. I really like that.
I can say a lot of good things about the show. It's just not really my jam, not my style.
I totally understand that.
The actors are phenomenal. The scenery is beautiful.
Do you find that it was immersive in terms of like the 70s and being out in the Southwest?
Oh, definitely.
So
I feel,
that.
It's definitely stepping back in time, and they do a really good job of that, I feel like.
With the landscape and the environment, it almost feels like a post-apocalyptic kind of place. It's empty. They don't live in nice houses.
I've really enjoyed the set design and seeing old brands and labels in the background.
Wood paneling.
Yeah.
The cars.
In the Leaphorns' house, there's like open shelving. You can see all their little bottles of cleaning product and foodstuffs, and seeing all of that and seeing all of the older looking vintage labels is really cool. Because I'm sure that's taken work, tracking that stuff down and trying to find stuff that's in good shape, that still has the label on it and it's not curling off or whatever, you know.
Never more than this episode, especially in the beginning when Halsey jumps into the convenience store filling station, all the stuff that's in the store. The proprietor slides a dime across the table. I'm like, oh yeah, to make a phone call used to be a dime.
Clerk?
No, proprietor. He owns the thing, probably.
Does he? Or does he work there?
I'm making assumptions, man.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, it's true.
I would have said the attendant. Even if he's the owner, you can still be an attendant.
Let's, I'm right and you're wrong, and let's fight about it now.
You know what?
Who cares?
Fine.
Honestly.
Catch me outside, Dave.
I doesn't matter who he was. I was just worried about him because I was like, oh my God, those cops are going to come in there guns blazing and that poor little old man's going to get killed. And I don't want to see that right at the beginning of the episode.
There's a bigger conversation to be had about that. But to your point about the visuals and the carefully curated set design and all that stuff.
I did want to continue to watch last night, even though it was late. 1, 2, the recording back to back's been difficult, I would say. No offense. I know you guys are doing 2 watches. I'm not. It's not happening. You're lucky if you give me a 1 watch, okay? Like that's all you're getting. So I have too many other things happening right now. So
are you taking notes?
No, no,
You're
Dave.
funny.
No, Dave. You've met me, right? I'll tell you what I told my college professor who tried to bust me publicly in front of everyone. Ask me anything. It's up here.
Wait,
you know
did you do
what?
that when you were a waitress?
Yeah, he did ask me several questions and I got all of them right. And he was like, all right, fair point. You can now take notes. It's fine. I was in like my mid-20s and he was like, you should be taking notes during class. And I was like, bro, I pay to go here.
What are we in high school?
Like, you don't need to do this. My grades are fine. I have all A's. What are you worried about?
Wait, question. Did he have tenure or not? See, now you know that that's an actual thing.
No, he did not have
'Cause
tenure.
That's why.
It was
Now
at a
you know
community
why
college,
he was such a
Dave.
D-hole, a dull hole.
He really wasn't. After that, he left me alone. He was like, oh, okay, fine, fair point. I think it was more embarrassing for him than anything else.
No kidding.
But yes, I was a waitress at the time and I did not.
Write anything down.
Well, I had to because I worked at a restaurant that took slips.
I see.
But,
I see. Did you leave little notes instead of the order?
And when I moved back to a restaurant that had POS systems, then I did stop writing orders down again.
So this is where you get your anti-authoritarianism? Is that what it is?
Yeah, don't tell me what to do, Dave. The back-to-back recording has made it like you're telling me what to do, so I don't like it. So I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch this right now. And I have to because I don't have time in the morning and I've got to do it now. But last night I finished an episode and literally it was because I had to, because this morning I went early to church so I could work before church. So I was like, I have to watch it tonight. And so I watched it and I was kind of like, I'm not going to watch the next one, but I would like to.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I finally felt that.
Yeah,
I can't wait. for
I
the
know.
next
I was like, wait, who killed him? I've got to know.
and Rachel's like, someone died this episode? See?
You mean the kid, right? Did I really miss a death?
So in terms of the title, Chahalheel, which means darkness falls, does that apply to the episode?
Ooh,
in terms
I got
of
one.
this episode?
I got one.
Okay. You didn't even raise your hand. It's a classroom.
Don't tell her what to do.
Don't tell me what to do. The fuse going out.
It's very literal.
Literal. Dave.
I was preparing for something profound.
Dave. I started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I'm pretty sure that Buffy is the Vampire Slayer. I sent Dave a TikTok about how media literacy is like failing over time. People will say these like things that they think are so profound that they've caught in a television show. And it's something as simple as I just started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer and I'm pretty sure that Buffy is the Vampire Slayer. And everyone is like, yes, that's media literacy to watch something
But they
and
say
understand
it in such a
it.
way that they're like, I think I figured it out, guys.
I think I finally figured it out.
There's something about this Buffy.
code.
Well, actually, it's more I've been watching Buffy. That's already you're in that realm. And then you continue saying, and I'm getting the feeling.
Just starting to figure it out, but I think Buffy's the Vampire Slayer.
The other darkness falling was Joe had darkness fall on him in the sense of Sylvia and Emma.
Oof, a doozy.
And both of those were basically at the end of the episode, and the flickering lights throughout the entire episode kind of foretold
Impending doom.
that Sylvia was going to drop the bomb on him and that Emma was going to drop the bomb on him.
Well, they were
Yeah.
out in the darkness when she finally did, too. Oh, I see Rachel's raising her hand. Bridget. Sorry.
I'm never going to do it now because you keep saying it.
Well, I have to raise my hand because I don't like interrupting people, and Dave has asked us not to anymore. So if I don't raise my hand, I just sit here in silence.
Teacher's pet. Hello. You had me. I had to raise my hand.
He can't ask us that because he is the worst perpetrator.
Right? Right? I'm going to say the obvious thing.
Was it more obvious than Bridget?
I wanted her to say the breaker one out so
did.
bad just then.
No. Okay, forgive me if I watched 3 episodes back to back because what is time in life and everything sucks. But this was the episode that opened with the dude getting buried in the truck, right?
No.
It was the second episode.
Bougie put the bag over his head.
Yeah.
Budge.
Whatever.
Bougie
Budge.
Budge.
I'm calling him Bougie.
Because it was a leather jacket.
He
Very
has a
impressed.
surprisingly nice apartment. I expected him to be in like a real hovel or something.
I thought that was a motel because I assumed his date was a hooker.
The other darkness falling was on Chi and Bernadette's relationship because it went south real quick.
It went dark.
Everything up until the point where he went in the bedroom was like, come home. She was dealing with it. And then I think that was just the little nudge that pushed it over the edge into the abyss.
But just like the conversation between Emma and Joe, because equally their marriage has fallen into darkness. I think that reckoning had to happen as well. Both of those things had to happen. It's like setting a bone. You have to kind of break it again to kind of.
But I didn't like it.
Like Rachel's ribs. You have to kind of set it to get it to heal right. Because it's not been right for a long time, and it crunches when she does something. You know, you suffered for
Anything.
such a long time.
I don't know why you act like crunchy bones isn't a medical condition, Dave.
I don't think that's the medical terminology, though.
I'm
It
sorry,
is 100%. It is
There's not
100% the
parts of
medical
you-
Crunchy
terminology.
bones.
That
All right,
crunch
you know,
when
I'm
you
gonna look it up
move.
now.
I'm not crazy.
I mean,
here.
I've heard of brittle bone, but crunchy bone is not.
Crunchy bones.
Is that
It's
like
the
an
thing.
offside of brittle bone?
Oh my God. No, there is a term for it. And it's actually one single word called crepitus.
When you stand up and
Literally,
your
I'm
knees
reading it.
pop, you have crepitation in your bones. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a crackling, crunching, or grating sound that occurs when moving a joint, like you
Yep.
said, Charity. It can also feel like a crunchy sensation. Air bubbles is the cause, actually, though.
Mhm.
Seep into the soft tissues, cartilage changes, arthritis. When to seek medical care. Let's read this one out loud. Why not? While
You
crepitus
can
is
stop
usually
right there. I'm not doing any of this.
It's usually harmless. You should seek medical care if the popping or crunching sound comes with pain.
No.
We got the Emma and Joe. We got the Chi and Bernadette
And Joe and Sylvia.
outside talking about the confrontation of
Mhm.
was it you? Huh.
Oh.
And the darkness fell on Halsey.
Uh,
But
yeah.
The final darkness. The big
Yeah.
dark.
The
I
final
honored
curtain.
him with my name today.
Rip Wish Bob Odenkirk.
I got very distracted because I had to look up who that actor was. I had myself convinced I knew who it was, and I was wrong. I thought it was Brian Klugman. He played Oliver Wells on Bones. He sounded the
Oh,
same
I could
and like
see,
kind of
I
looked
could
like
see
him.
that
Yeah.
a little.
Was he wearing a wig?
It looked like it,
Right.
But-
Thank you.
but it might have just been like extra dusty from the
70s hair,
atmosphere. Yeah.
Maybe like extensions or I don't know. He struck to me as somebody that was male pattern bald. No, it's not a judgment. It's just well, takes one to know one. So it's not a bad thing.
Sick
Just
burn
a
on
thing.
yourself,
David
Dave.
says, I know a bald man when I see it.
Burn. Yeah, just got a haircut. It's just a joke.
Just one.
Yeah, just want a haircut.
Just one hair.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit more complicated than
The
that.
hair. You got the haircut.
You still have to go through the ceremony of sitting in a chair and saying,
Like putting a cape on.
"Just
and
can you just do something about this? There's not much to it. Thanks." And they just break out the clippers. That's all. That's all you got to do. Just
Yeah.
all right, we're done.
$35, please.
Well, I got a good guy, so it's 25.
Just do it at home.
He's like, let me give you a break. It's 25, not 30.
You're already bald. You shouldn't be broke. Too.
I'll take it. It's like the senior citizen discount for male pattern baldness people.
You get
Anyway,
half
all right.
off since you have half the hair.
Maybe I am.
Maybe.
And then I tip him like extraordinarily because it's just kind of like, well, we both had to do this. Anyway. Oh, I wanted to say this because, and this will probably be a good gateway for talking about Budge, because he's not very prevalent in this episode in presence, but he does make an appearance at the end. Raul Max Trujillo. I meant to mention who he was in the last episode. That's the actor's name. And he is fascinating. He started out his career as a dancer choreographer.
Really?
Ballet-ish.
Wow. Okay, cool.
So first of all, his first acting gig or first gig in entertainment was move over Daniel Radcliffe. His first job in 77 was an actor, dancer in a production of Equus. He was a scene painter, learned how to do set and lighting and design and costume design for the next decade. So he did that in and out with dancing and choreography, etc. But he learned about the whole thing. He's been acting since 1990 in feature film and TV. So that's 35 years since he was about 34 years old. So never too late to start if you're of that age. Never quite made that guy status necessarily, but you may have seen him as he hit his stride in a show called Mayans MC, which was the spinoff from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, Mayans, yeah.
He played Shea Taza Romero. And he was even in the big budget DC film, Blue Beetle, as Carapax, starring one of the dudes from Cobra Kai. So he was one of the villains. Okay, that's cool. And so he started out his career as a dancer, choreographer, soloist with the Nikolai Dance Theater, and original choreographer and co-director for the American Indian Dance Theater. And it kind of goes on the heel of what I said in the last episode. When he was sitting down with Bernadette, he was quite charming. His facial expressions and everything, it almost felt like dancing in a way. It was more in his facial expressions than what he actually said. To this point in this episode, he's a 69-year-old man in real life playing a 62-year-old. And all the while I'm seeing him, he gets the call from Halsey to edit his extension 119, I think it was, which redirects it from AGS to his, I think most of us kind of got it. It felt like a motel room of some kind.
It did to me. Yeah, it felt like a motel to me.
It felt like a room to me, but
it was swanky.
Yeah, and it had a nightstand and 2 beds, I think, next to each other. It felt like it. I don't remember.
I don't know
exactly.
that you could see a second bed, but something about the layout made me feel like it was a hotel room. But I've stayed in a lot of old motels, so maybe that's just like a
same. That's why I thought that,
vibe of the 70s. So I don't know, maybe.
And it's probably obvious why I didn't really care about that part.
I was like, ooh, interesting. His appointment that he had to keep was a hooker. That was all I thought. I was like, okay.
Well, to your point, when you see him, he's shirtless, maybe more. And the first thing you see are these massive body tattoos. And his chest is not hairy at all. And then I just
thought
to myself, I don't know. I didn't look into it.
I don't know either, but they did look very
so cool.
Real.
And
they looked real. Yeah, they looked real. It was just
bumping up the sexy level just a little bit more to me.
I don't know what it is about Budge and those bug eyes.
It's
but something about
I think they're more it's his beady eyes. I mean, maybe that's age or whatever, but then everything else about him, kind of that biker build that he mutes with all these other clothing.
He pays for dinner. I mean, I've dated worse.
So you're starting to be on my page. This guy is not only charming in the last episode.
I told you last episode there was something about the control that he has.
Oh,
well, it just says a lot about my psyche, which maybe people don't need to know that, but I'm putting it out there for the internet, so now everybody knows. I have daddy issues, though. It's fine. I'm fine. I see a therapist. It's okay.
He's like the enforcer guy, but what did he say?
Security.
He works security.
Oh, okay.
Quote unquote.
He's the fixer.
Wait, we've already seen him take out the Panther.
The
To be fair, the Panther needed to be taken out.
Oh, is that the guy with the belt buckle?
And the sunflower seeds.
60% of the time, he's dead every time.
He almost made it with his little horn honking underground as he was buried alive.
It's like he didn't forget you and accidentally do this. He's doing it on purpose. Because he's like yelling
I'm
for
in here. I'm in here.
He didn't forget about you.
Yeah, he knows.
Oh, and he never will. And giving Halsey the old Colombian necktie. That's all I could think about for some reason.
Ugh.
I think you might have to cut that out of the episode, actually.
Yeah.
Why? Is
that might be viewed as offensive to the Colombian people.
Will I get a Colombian necktie if I leave it in?
It is a
well,
thing.
Then I should probably leave it in because it's authentic.
Dave.
Everybody's too quiet. Which means I've probably done something wrong. Well, that's what they used to call it in the films.
Yeah, we
Not
can't
just
say
the
stuff
films.
like that anymore.
Well,
Why did I say it like that?
Just the film.
You could just had a stroke.
What? In what world? He was
smell eggs?
breathing out of his neck.
No.
Trying to.
I had a stroke.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Do you smell smoke?
I said, do you smell eggs?
Or that?
It's burnt
No,
toast. One.
eggs is seizures.
It's burnt
Smoke
toast.
is. Yeah, the smell of sulfur is
It's burnt toast.
one of the
One
pre-tells.
is the pre-tell.
Yeah.
Two, I didn't assume.
How's your stroke?
Yes, Halsey's bleeding profusely from his neck. So much so that Joe slips in a pool of his blood. But I'm like, wow, look at this guy stroking out.
As you roll your eyes. God, this guy, drama queen. Way to get blood all over
my
your
stomach hurts.
soul patch
He
beard.
had a stroke and he fell on a sharp object in the cell. And that's what it is.
Oh, I
Bridget.
see. Can't wait for the Epstein files.
What is happening?
Anyway, let's move on. Epstein hung himself.
But he didn't.
No, we
Wait.
didn't.
With a guitar string. Slap a
Yeah,
turkey
any more
neck
than
and it's
Halsey
hanging
didn't
from
get a
a
Colombian
pigeon wing.
necktie.
Dave, whatever.
What was the point of that? Oh, Budge. Yeah. Wow. We went. So we all agree that he's kind of sexy with every episode, as opposed to the first episode where he's kind of like quiet and old and scary. Like, you
I think
feel
you
his
guys are on your
oldness.
own with that
No,
one.
I'm still pretty terrified of him. I don't find him attractive or
I just-
sexy at
I
all.
don't either.
Oh,
The-
okay. Half and half.
But the
Cool.
fear is part of it.
No.
I won't. I won't say it's not part of it, Bridget. Do I have daddy issues? Maybe. I don't know if it's the same for me as it is for you, though.
I didn't mean it, but it's so funny. I don't mean that. The fear is not part of it.
Bridget throwing me under the bus now. She's like, no, I didn't really. That was what Dave. That's what we call a stroke. I mean, a joke.
Stroke.
In real life, he does not look like that. He loves his facial hair.
He has a beard?
Well, he's got like the goatee situation, mustache goatee.
Maybe.
It's, you know what?
I was like, a full beard. Suddenly I was even more.
I know. You had me at beard, and then you went,
I was like,
Oh.
"Gee," and I was like, "Ugh."
Ooh,
Well, he's an
sounds
artiste,
good.
so he has like his hair pulled back, and he goes. It's actually a good look for him. It's quite nice. Anyway, I think that's what he had in Mind's MC too. So I don't know. We do see the aftermath of Bernadette coming home from her not date with Ivan.
Ivan is too nice.
Yeah, something's wrong with him.
I don't trust him at all. She's like, do you have anybody up there you can trust? And she's like, yes. Who is she talking about? I guess it was Garza. But
She's
I
thinking
don't
about
trust Garza either.
I don't trust anybody.
I don't trust any of them.
I was a little bit worried he was tasked with schmoozing her enough to traffic her.
Ooh,
I thought that too at
I
first.
did not think
That
that.
was my
Now,
concern.
I think maybe he's supposed to schmooze her up and to bring her into the, can we trust her with the knowledge of what's going on here? Can we bring her in? Or is she always going to be a thorn in our side? That is what he is tasked with doing with her.
So my only response to that is I was on board with you until this episode because of the people who were on the corkboard at the end of the last episode. Who was not there? And why is that important? Especially when this episode comes around.
Did you go back and look at it?
Yes, I did.
So is he on there or is he not?
He is on there. And so is
All right,
Bernadette,
now
obviously.
I don't know how I feel about it.
I know.
Alinda
But
isn't
wait,
on there.
And Linda isn't on there. And let's go even further than that. Like, I'm going to set my case, and you can think obviously whatever you want. This is a free country. Bernadette pulls her aside after Chi asks her, "Is there anybody you can trust?" Okay, they go into the locker room coffee area, and they talk about it. It's like, I think it's Ed Henry, not Ed Hardy. And Linda goes, "If we go in there, we have to go in there guns blazing," because all of a sudden now she wants to get involved.
That was a super fast escalation.
Right.
Yeah,
Don't
what a
say
switch up.
anything because if we have to go in, we have to go in guns blazing. Like, do we though?
Exactly. Okay, so we're on the same page on that. Now, wait, there's more. When she is outside and they're talking, the first thing you see before they talk is Alinda with her little happy face
Mhm.
mug
Watching
looking
them.
out the
Oh, yeah,
window.
I know.
Who's this guy? It's how it registered it. And then when you put that together with the picture that is not on the corkboard, she's not there. It paints a bigger picture. And you should also note, and this is very interesting, because as much as you kind of hate Ed Henry, not Ed Hardy. His picture is not on the corkboard either. He's just him. And, you can hate him for just being just him. But maybe he's not part of this thing. But it makes me think.
Well, you said he's not on the corkboard.
He's not
But
on the corkboard.
aren't there 2 corkboards that we didn't
you're
get
right.
to see?
There's 2 more corkboards we didn't get to see also.
True, but
if we're stating Alinda isn't on the corkboard because she's part of it, that means that Henry's part of it also.
right. That's a good point. That's
Is
a
his
good
last
point.
name Henry?
Yes. It makes me wonder if he is involved. Because it would be funnier if he wasn't involved, though, because it just means that he's just him. But the thing that makes me think that it's not him is how quick she is to turn on him. Because why wouldn't you rat out somebody who's not involved just to save your own ass?
Oh, well, I think she's willing to turn over on him, as most criminals are on their cohorts.
Is there no honor among thieves?
I think it's just too obvious. It's too on the nose. That's why I couldn't really decide between
I agree.
the boyfriend and the roommate. Which of the 2 is the most obvious one?
I think
And
both of
they're
them
gonna be
are part of
clean.
it.
Yeah.
I will say this. I feel like Ivan knows about it, but he's thinking just kind of like what we said in the last episode. I just want to keep my nose clean and not get involved, not rock the boat. And this is too big for me. That's probably what he's thinking.
So he's just
Maybe.
a coward.
Yeah. But at the same time, why I said what I had said was, well, imagine being an indigenous person, a Native American in this country. And you've been bowled over time and time again. You've been screwed over and over
He
again.
doesn't want to stick his neck out because he's worried about the consequences. Yeah, I understand. I would
Yeah.
because
totally
it'll come back on
understand.
him.
Yeah, I would totally
and so
understand.
that's why he is the way he is, and that's I identify, and I mentioned I identify with that on many different levels. Because that's a mirror for why Lee Porn does what he does. He's never going to get the justice that Joe Jr. deserves.
Yeah,
and so who can blame him? 2 different people handling the situation 2 different ways.
When Joe is in the police station with Senna and he is insisting that Halsey is the one, it's him. That is what she did to Shorty. That it's him. I know it's him. He has to be the one. I don't know exactly what that says about Joe's psyche.
Well, yeah, you have to keep in mind that this was shortly after Emma gave him the cold shoulder.
Yeah.
And so he's thinking, it's a little bit of what people have been crediting me for some reason. You hate in others what you hate in yourself. I did a thing and you did a thing. Why should he get away with it? I feel like I'm not getting away with it. I feel like I'm in the coyote's mouth. You know what I mean?
I don't even think it's that. If it's not this flesh and blood man who was there, who did this,
sure.
then I am losing my mind. But there is something real to it. And that's even more terrifying to
That's
know
what he
that there's
said.
a monster out there after him who was able to scratch his arm. And so if he can't prove that that was a flesh and blood person, this opens up a gate to some stuff he's not ready to deal with.
Because it's made him not see other possibilities too, because it's too spooky. And to your point, by the way, every time he sees the lights flickering, he goes, "Hey, big man, can you take a look at that?" Or turning off Suzanne's light above her head as he's in the hospital. He just assumes that it's not spooky, even though we all see that it's definitely spooky.
I think
it's
he's trying
us.
to push it out of his mind because that's so scary, especially to someone in law enforcement who chases the bad guys, who chases the monsters that everyone else sees, to know that there's a monster out there that you could not arrest, that you could not convict, that you could not shoot, maybe.
But
is
also lives in a
terrifying.
world of evidence and proof, right?
Yeah.
You can't take somebody down without it. So why would he entertain that possibility?
The story that Suzanne tells is essentially what's after him.
Joe visits Suzanne in the hospital, Suzanne Thompson, and the flickering. And then and by the way, while that stuff was flickering, I was like, Joe, just turn it off, Joe. Joe, it's annoying. Joe, please, the buzzing is killing. It's like Sharon's microphone. Please turn it off. It's not cool. No, just touch your charger.
My gosh, I was going to say you didn't even have to buzz because it
Yeah,
started
just touch
doing
your
it as soon
charger.
as you
Exactly.
touched it.
If
Yeah.
it reminds me
Yes.
of the buzzing that we heard though in the season on the first episode. It's like the pest sound.
Oh yeah,
Flies.
Yeah.
It's like a pestering sound.
It's a more concretized, digitized version of buzzing, and when what Sylvia says about flies and how great they are, but if only they were not annoying. What do you think on a spooky level? Let's go here. What the lights flickering means to us, the viewer. The thing that Joe should be taking away, maybe, that this is happening.
Harbinger of doom. Bad things are getting ready to happen to you or somebody.
In mythology, it's an indicator of When I say mythology, I mean like modern mythology.
Horror mythology?
No, just mythology, I guess. It's an indicator of a ghost.
Oh, okay.
And
I see
so
what you're saying.
BJ Vines' spirit is now attached to him, and that spirit is causing this. That's what the viewer's meant to think. It's happening at inopportune times when people are trying to tell him important information. So he's like unable to really take in everything that he's hearing because all of a sudden this zzz, and you'll notice it becomes like slightly louder. At first it's in the background, then it slowly moves to the foreground.
Yeah.
And it's typically while people are sharing important information.
Or when something's about to happen, or
Yeah.
I actually like that Bridget said ghost, because given the title of the last episode and how much we talked about ghosts being involved.
The other times we see it are, okay, he's sitting down right before Sylvia talks about the needle in the haystack. I found the haystack. Big man, can you take a look at that? There was the other one where he was about to do the depot for the sheep herder. He comes in, he sees him sitting down. Sylvia says, the hallway, I need you later for a deposition, blah, blah. Okay, fine. The one with the Suzanne, I want to talk particularly about because I had said something in the last episode that is absolutely bonkers. I said, Halsey isn't the guy. You do see him on the phone with Budge. You see all the things. But Suzanne keeps saying, Halsey, I don't know what happened to him. He's so angry. It's just, I don't know what happened. Who knew he was capable of that? All that stuff. And Halsey seems to have and is emphatic about the fact that he was at a diner taking 10 refills of coffee. Like, and I didn't kill that kid.
I didn't think he killed the kid, especially when A, we're only halfway through the season, so it's too early for us to have the murderer. B, I just feel like him being the murderer of the kids is too easy.
Suzanne potentially being darker than she is interesting because it parallels what happened in season 2 at the end of it when Vines' wife leaves and she's like, who would suspect weak, frail me? And we've got a woman who's thin, meek next to Halsey because she really plays up the meek card.
Appears frail.
And is
helpless.
Nearly on her deathbed.
Or so
she
we're led
also
to
said,
believe.
you shouldn't have saved me.
That's part of it. Between the lights flickering, if it's meant to be a warning or, hey, something is awful here and I'm trying to tell you, it's Joe Jr. tapping on the electric lines as a ghost or BJ Vines. But let's just go with the Joe Jr. thing. Because it's becoming a little bit clear to me that, well, at least on the positive, that there are two ghosts attached to him. There's the Joe Jr. ghost with the ants. I'm contending this. I could be wrong. That's fine. And there's the lights and the pests, right? It's like anything that would be registered as a pest or an annoyance is Joe Jr. Anything that's a wraith is BJ Vines, which Suzanne elucidated. She said, basically, I saw the same thing that you did, which tells me one thing. My mind went to, oh, she's like Terry, what's her name from the cult in in Dallas, Texas. But maybe her situation with Ernesto Cata mirrors in some form or fashion what Joe did with BJ Vines. Maybe she was indirectly connected to the murder of Ernesto Cata, that the circumstance was somewhat similar, that she didn't save him, but she didn't kill him.
I don't know. She's involved in the trafficking, that much I do know, but I'm still suspicious of the archaeology team.
I was going to bring that up, but thank you.
So it's hard for me to say definitively that they would have killed Ernesto Cata. I don't know that they did. I feel still very strongly that this does have to do with the archaeology team. It's why the arrowhead was chosen, I think, or as we have theorized, the lance point.
Right.
It's all going to end up being connected. I just don't understand how.
So much is happening in this episode between Chi going to the border and Ivan and me paying attention to Garza and Halsey being taken in and the hotel jumping from the thing. And that I was like, oh, wait, hey, what happened to the archaeologists? They were completely absent, which tells you should look somewhere else. Don't look at these guys. Don't look at them anymore. You thought they were the guy, and then all of a sudden this stuff happened. So it can't be them. Did they even exist? Is basically what you're supposed to take away. So I'm glad you said that. Just to tie that in a bow a little bit, it's why I said it's possible that she's not the ringleader I thought she was. She could be, and that's fine. But she's not that malevolent type of person, perhaps.
It would be interesting if she was, but I mean, I'm not even really 100% sold on that. But it would
I'm
make for
backing
interesting
away.
writing.
But to say this is that maybe she liked those kids, maybe she didn't, and maybe there was some interplay here between Suzanne and the archaeologists, that she led them to them, and that's how they got killed, and she feels responsible. There could be some play there, that she hooked them up with the archaeologists. Maybe. And that's what got them killed, and she feels guilty.
Do you guys think that it's actually a supernatural being or that it's a human?
They've been able to really kind of hedge their bets with this because that's really the style of Hillerman's writing. A younger generation will want to prove this wrong because it sounds too supernatural. These are like the ways of the older generations, the belief in all of this supernatural stuff. But they've given us just enough that it's like, could there be something supernatural? And it gives you enough each season that you're like, I don't know, maybe this time there is. Because when we looked at The Witch, like those things that happened to Bernadette, that was weird. We don't really have an explanation for why it happened that way.
Drugs.
Well, I was going to say voodoo. And why I say voodoo is because one of the main things that people purport about voodoo is that it doesn't affect you if you don't believe in it. And that's sort of where my head is at when it comes to that part of it. Psychologically.
I'm willing to say that maybe there's more to this than we see. Do I think that it's probably just a guy? Yes.
Budge?
Maybe he's trying to play this up so that people are fearful of him, so then they don't really follow him or see where he's going or pay attention to where he's been or anything like that.
And if you look at his build, it's possible he might move a lot faster than we take him for. He looks really
I don't really
well
know,
built.
but
and he's a dancer, by the way.
I like that they leave it ambiguous each season. It makes it more exciting, in my opinion.
I agree.
I feel like Budge would be way too obvious a choice to be the evil entity. That's what they want us to think.
It's fair. Actually, I think they want us to think it's spooky.
I mean, to some
But-
degree, it could even be someone like the archaeologist who would know about Native American lore and mythology and could create something. I don't know. We're just too early in the season. I think it'll end up being a person because that's usually how this goes. There's
And
someone.
here I am having this
to us,
thought
but-
that could it be Sylvia Washington? I don't know
No.
why that
Nah.
entered my mind.
No, not her style.
Jenna, you got some moves, Jenna.
She is a dancer.
She is.
Oh, two
She's also
dancers.
a dancer. Yeah.
Let's see them both in a Swan Lake. Raul Trujillo.
Swan Lake.
How much focus there is on the women in this season. We're actively questioning if one of the women is a bad guy. Is Garza the bad guy? So while we're seeing Bernadette and Sylvia, who are paragons of women getting into jobs where they wouldn't normally, but then you have the opposite of that, which is Suzanne and Garza, possibly, who are the worst side of what women can do.
It's equal opportunity across the board.
Right.
Yeah, there's like a gradient, right? Because we don't want Sylvia to be competent because we love Jolie porn, but she is good at what she does.
I was talking to Dennis a little while ago because he expressed interest in starting from the beginning because he hasn't been watching it with me. He was like, "Is that Jenna?" Because he heard me watching it. And I was like, "Yeah, she's in reality the good guy because she's an FBI agent trying to solve a murder. But since we have been following Joe and love Joe, to us, she is a bad guy because she is attacking our hero of the series." Kind of like Walter White in Hank. Everybody hated Hank because he was against Walter, but Walter was making meth. I mean, he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
So Schrader is Sylvia Washington, basically. Hank Schrader is Sylvia Washington.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, that makes sense. I can't wait to tell Jenna that. She'll take that, actually. Let me put a tag on what you just said, Sharon D. Also, it's amazing that we can see, because we're here in 2025, that these women occupy a strata of big bad to great good and paragons of virtue, and then paragons of go-getter and ambition and independence. Then we have to kind of put ourselves back in the 1970s where that really isn't the case. And it would make sense for them to drive home the fact that it may not be obvious to everybody in the show that Suzanne could be the big bad, or that Sylvia Washington could be competent at her job and nail Lee Porn dead to rights, or just throwing this out there randomly. Because sometimes I think things about Emma, just based on that split focus shot in the first episode after that scary thing with the wraith coming out of the ground and that sunny scene, and then Lee Porn's on the phone hearing about the murder and she's at the sink washing the dishes, and what does that mean? That maybe there's a darkness in her too. I don't know. Or maybe he brought the darkness to their home and now there's some spooky beta-S.
Yeah, he brought it to her, unfortunately.
I don't want to think that about her.
No,
But-
I know. It's complicated because I'm mad at her because Joe is our guy. So I'm like,
I'm not mad at her, but
I'm
yeah, I
like,
get
I'm
what you're
like
saying.
frustrated. No, he's your husband. You should support him. But at the same time, I get it. It's murder. I mean, not really, but to some degree, it is murder. You left him out there knowing he was going to die.
And he keeps putting their son's name into it.
Keep our son's name out of your mouth is all I can think of.
You did it because you're honoring Joe, but do you think that is what Joe would have wanted? And he's also dragging her into this against her will. She doesn't want to be part of it, but now she's forced into it because they're going to have this dinner with Sylvia still, apparently, or they're going to be questioned and she's going to be like, were you here? And now she has to lie. It's against her character. And the other
I know.
thing is discovering that your husband that you know and love and has been part of your life, that he's really somebody that would do something that you didn't think was possible for him to do.
And has been keeping it from you
and has
for
been
several
keeping it.
months.
Now, he'll justify and say he didn't lie, but it's a lie by omission.
It's hard because you know that he did it to protect her. When she does ask, he does come clean because he says, he's like, I can't lie to her. I never have been able to. I never will. Then to give her that truth and for her to be like, I can't do this anymore.
Or I feel like I can, at least.
Everything about it is so sad. It's tragedy. You've already been through enough tragedy. This just put it over the top. At least you were able to get through your son's death and still be together, which is statistically unlikely.
I was thinking about that, and I thought you would pick up on that.
After
too.
the loss of a child, the loss of a child typically leads to people getting divorced. It's extremely unfortunate, but it is rare that people stay together after losing a child because it creates such a rift in the dynamic that you already have, and you both have to grieve, but you can't support someone's grief when you're grieving.
Or it's inordinately difficult if you don't know how to do it.
If you're able to compartmentalize in that way, then you hold resentment towards that person because you weren't allowed to grieve in the same way that they were. That creates like a really weird dynamic. To make it this far and then this be the thing that drives the wedge between them is just really
the
sad.
very thing that could have torn them apart is coming back and rearing its head. I'll say one thing. I think two things can be true. Because as he's saying what he's saying, the tears that I see falling from her face seem to be tears of, I can't believe you went through all this alone. This must have made you suffer.
There can be an element of that, yeah.
Yeah. While at the same time saying plainly that this is bigger than just justice, that there's a spiritual element to this that you invited into our home.
And you made the choice without talking to me.
Well, and even still, had you had confronted me, I would have told you, don't do this. You'll bring in an element to our home that's already, to your point about what you were saying, Bridget, it's already hard without him because that's statistically what happens. Now you're bringing in something in that will make it harder. That is beyond the rational world.
She says he was our son. A lot of the hurt is that he didn't trust her or involve her in it, or even say, what do you think about this? What do you think about this man being free?
It's like you stole something from me.
To some degree, he did.
It's been, 6 months or something since it happened?
Yes, that's right. November 24th, 1971, and it's 1972.
In all those months, you had the opportunity, I'm sure several times, to bring it to my attention that this happened. Or at least give me a heads up before an FBI agent is here investigating it.
You know that he knows that he did the wrong thing and he's put Emma in such a compromising position because of the way that he says sorry. He's like, I told her I was with you. I'm so sorry. He wishes that he had come up with any other excuse at that moment because that would have been better than putting more pressure on Emma when she already can't handle what he told her.
Yeah, now she has to lie in order to save him. At any other time, she could have, I don't know where he was. He was at his friend's house, whatever, as far as I know. But now she has to put out a lie. There's no getting around it.
Yeah.
What's great about that is the pre-pending of that is the conversation he has with Gordo.
I was just going to say, that's the part I love about this, though. Like, even though that part is really sad and super tragic, and I have mixed feelings about it because I am kind of upset with Emma, but I also understand it. And if I was put in the same position, I'd be like, well, you're going to prison. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Push comes to shove. I don't know what I would do.
No,
Am I ride or
exactly.
die? I have no idea.
She's hurt and she's upset, but eventually I feel like she's going to come around. You killed BJ Vines. Now I have to talk to this lady. There's no come down period in between.
She's just saying what she feels too. I think she feels like she can't, but I don't know that is the case.
Maybe it takes time. I don't know. I haven't, thankfully, ever been in that position.
Thank good. Exactly. It's an extraordinary circumstance.
But I loved to see that conversation with Gordo because
Gordo's very insistent.
We assumed prior to the season that he knew because of what he said to Lee Porn at the very end of season 2. They have their conversation and he tells him, like, I'm retiring. You should become sheriff. Without saying it, he knows a lot. And we assume that. But to know for sure that he does, but for him to be like, well, you weren't there. You weren't there. He is really doubling down. You would felt like maybe he would be a bad guy because of the split focus and like something about like his character. But I have to say, he's really been a good friend to Lee Porn.
It was in season 2 when the blonde man got away from him. I had that feeling, but ever since then, I've not really felt that way about him.
His attitude at the very beginning of season 2 made me feel like he was going to be a foil for Lee Porn, but not actively a bad guy, if that makes sense. Because he didn't want to do the work, that he was going to be a foil for Lee Porn when he was trying to arrest someone, that this was going to be the stumbling block for him. Okay, I'm glad we're all on the same page that he's a good guy this season.
Wait, hold on. There's more
maybe
to
we're
what you're
not.
saying.
Okay, great.
Now that we have all agreed that he's the good guy, he's going to definitely turn out to be the bad guy.
And now Dave's going to say he disagrees, and he's disagreed the whole time,
Hey,
even though it's not true.
was his picture on the board?
No, he's not a CBP agent. So. No.
It wasn't there, though, with like hearts around it.
Oh, it's like the Budge and Senna porn. Okay, cool.
Oh, no,
Budge
not this again. Not this
Budge
again.
and Gordo, a homoerotic adventure. Sometimes a tell don't show is actually quite apropos. And Senna basically says it after the interrogation. He says, "You'd be the one telling me to follow the evidence over your feelings." This is to show that, yeah, in another universe, they would be switching roles here, and Senna would be like corrupt cop, and which I think is kind of cool in a weird way, which shows how much they appreciate each other's friendship, and it shows how strong it is. And nothing more indicative when they're actually interrogating Michael Halsey. They're going back and forth, they're trading lines, but there's one in particular that you don't see it obviously, and I don't know what this means, but A. Martinez, aka Gordo Senna, goes,
"I did kill that kid, man."
As convincing as you hope that is, we just might be able to prove you did.
and he uses air quotes. He doesn't do the actual curling of the fingers, but he has his air quote fingers up to prove that you're the killer.
Dave,
Which it's off screen. It's kind of like
Dave, don't you
know?
remember that was something that happened back then? If you needed to catch the guy, suddenly the evidence was there.
Because it's not your job to follow. You don't have to follow the breadcrumbs.
If
that,
he's the bad
Halsey
guy, you
leaves
got to get the bad
behind.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the lawyer's job, actually. I thought it was a little sus, is what I'm saying.
But it's also, are they just playing good cop, bad cop? Because that's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah, I feel you. But then there's also the switcheroo of, well, the immunity thing was brought up. And
Well, I thought that was funny because Joe's like,
No deal.
the Gordo's like,
Well, hold on now.
there you go.
Wait a second.
Well, now that we're talking about immunity, what do you got?
That was the right choice, honestly, because I don't think that Halsey killed Kata. So
Okay, so let's go there. That question alone. Do we think Halsey killed Kata?
I don't think so.
I definitely
Okay.
don't now that he's dead because they're not going to kill the murderer
100%.
off in the fourth episode.
I'm kidding.
Okay, so good thing we came back to Halsey because I wanted to talk about his conversation with Budge on the phone.
Also, the shot in the beginning, by the way, the upside down crane shot of the car overhead and all the music that came along with it.
Some of the shots early on in the episode made me dizzy.
Frenetic.
The way that they were like, whooshoo, like I was like, ugh, I can't. My eye tried to follow the trajectory and I couldn't do it, and I got really dizzy. It was very weird.
Do you get dizzy and nauseous at those illusion posters where you try to see the?
No.
It's a schooner.
It's a
Just so you
schooner.
know, it's always a schooner.
It's a sailboat, dumbass. Anyway, so
Thank you for getting the from
Yeah, it was
Mallrats.
Mallrats,
just
yeah.
for-
I got
Scooter
it.
is a sailboat, idiot.
Not everybody's over the age of 30,
So he makes the phone call and he calls Budge. So the whole situation was weird because he calls AGS Industries.
and that receptionist thought it was weird too.
He asks for extension 119, which is 911 backwards.
Oh, I didn't. Wow.
Get it? That's why, because he's
You get it? You
because
get it,
he's the
Dave? You
fixer.
get it?
The receptionist is like, "What? Say that again." She's never done that extension before, so she was concerned about
She's
it.
a new hire. What do you want from her?
She gets him over to the right place, and it's Budge. He tells Budge,
Tell Mr. Spencer that we had to shut down, that everything's cleared out, that they'll never know we were there, or where we're going, or that we had anything to do with you. Everything's gone. Everybody's gone. You have my word. You got nothing to worry about. Hello?
Good luck.
All I could think was, no, you didn't, you absolute idiot. You left huge chunks of evidence.
Of heroin. Oh, sorry,
Mhm.
cocaine.
You left cocaine, but you also left the bulletin
Corkboards.
board connecting you to the trafficking. You absolute moron. It would have been enough if it had just been drugs. But the fact that now you've connected this to something much larger than yourself, you are so dead, my dude, which obviously he was. And I love that Budge is just like, good luck.
Yep.
Budge is like, you're dead. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to take care of this problem.
And as he's burning the truck, he's whimpering a little and it holds on him a little too long. I keep thinking to myself, it's not the law that he's scared.
No, he's like, he
scared
doesn't
over.
care at all about the law.
Consolation prize is if he gets caught by the law, but the first prize winner is
He's obviously not the
Budge.
brightest dude in the bunch, because the last thing you do when you have committed a major crime and are on the run from the cops is go stay in some place where you've stayed before. He needs to
Yeah,
leave.
he's so
he needs
bad
to
at it.
vacate the area completely.
I get that, but to his point, he thinks for all he knows, Suzanne is dead. And he was the only person he went to that place with. For when it feels like he probably thought he was safe.
He's still not good at it. He's bad
Right.
at
No,
crime.
I agree. I don't disagree. But I'm trying to give this guy, who, by the way, has a bit of charisma, like on the grimy side. So I'm giving him cover. I
He's
choose
convincing during the interrogation.
to. Yeah, he has like a command of when he knows they can't get anything on him. But then
I don't know. I
all
mean,
of a
he's kind of a
But then they
weenie.
mention, what's his name? They mention Tom Spencer, and he doesn't fold just yet.
Yeah.
But when he knows that that is a possibility, he's like, yeah, my number's up, and I better play my cards right here, because if I don't, I'm in trouble. In the last episode, she makes it obvious in this episode that there's somebody in the CBP that is involved in this trafficking thing. Okay, fine, because the cork board and all that. And lets Bernadette know and all that. And he goes down to further elucidate the point, and they talk about AGS Industries and all the leasing and all that stuff. And just to drop it here, it's not important to even talk about, but AGS Leasing not only owns the rights to Spencer Ranch, which is where Tom Spencer lives, and the chili farm, quote unquote, but also Spencer Oil as a whole, the whole conglomerate, basically. All three things for some reason. Now, I'd mentioned in the last episode that this could be as a result of financial issues, and somebody had to step in and save Tom Spencer, because he keeps mentioning, like I said, all the work his grandpappy did. And to me, that's a signal to the audience, hopefully, that he's not doing this because he wants to, but he doesn't want to be the one to destroy his father's legacy or his ancestors' legacy. All the progress that they made, it seems to have been on him, and somebody came in and bought the business, or bought at least the land, so that they can operate off of that business from the, which is probably where the trafficking came in. Let's just say that. Also, I think to your point, Bridget, I believe that Buffy was the vampire slayer. So we're on the same page. Okay, fine.
I believe. Rachel, do you need to go? I feel so bad and you're moving so much. I don't want you to make it worse.
It's really just getting
I
worse.
think you should just be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, say goodbye
All right.
to the audience
Have
then.
fun, you guys.
Love you.
Love you. I'm glad
Love
you
you
were
guys.
Yeah.
here, but it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, here's where I was going with all of that.
Okay.
Buffy is the vampire slayer, blah, 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 whatever. Knowing all that, alluding to what I said about Gordo Senna, you guys getting into my head that he could be the bad guy and me not wanting it to be the case, got me thinking, it doesn't have to be him, but I was thinking, wouldn't it benefit them to have somebody in the NTP, Tom Spencer and Budge and all that stuff, to let them know that they have Halsey and Holding and all that stuff? You could find that stuff out on the wire, on the police scanner, but from 400 some odd miles away, I don't think that's a thing.
There
So
were a
I
couple
wonder-
other people in the office, though. You never know who would be on the take.
Well, so now I want to know who you think might be it, because I don't want it to be Senna,
I really don't want it to be Senna.
but it seems like them. Or maybe to one of you guys has said it, maybe Sylvia Washington isn't who she says she is too, and she could be double dipping. She could be in the
That's
FBI,
possible.
but she could be running
Maybe.
an inside person for, well, it's not really Tom's. If I'm saying what I'm alluding to is, I don't think it's Tom Spencer per se. I think it's some force that has a hold on Tom Spencer that is controlling the whole show, and Dabaka's the liaison for all of that. And
I mean, I'm not
security.
even ready to say that yet.
But the
But
enforcer is more the word, I guess.
I think Tom Spencer is in it. Like you said, he probably had financial problems and ended up giving up his land and such to AGS Industries. And AGS Industries, maybe that could just be a front for a drug
Mhm.
running.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a holding company that does leasing, but also other things
Mhm.
too.
I was thinking those balls that we saw where they were sealing them up or whatever, those could be what is going in the tanker. But the reason they have to put them in steel balls like that, tanks full of liquid should be a certain weight. I know they're going over truck scale, so it's not going to be super precise. But if you're filling space that was liquid with powder cocaine, it's not going to be the same weight. So they have to put them in steel balls to counteract the
counteract
weight that
the
they're going to be
weight.
losing. Because if you go through with you're 500 pounds short, that's going to be noticeable. Whereas
Yeah.
if you have those steel balls in there, not only does it keep the cocaine from getting oil on it, it is enough to counterbalance the weight that you're losing by not having that much liquid in your
And that's
thing.
why all those hippies were so dirty. It wasn't just because they were unshowered, it's because they were handling oily balls.
Ew.
Let's just leave it there. That's fine.
Yep. We'll let
I just
that
want to
hang.
mention the holding
I'm
company.
gonna let that
and-
hang, you know.
Yeah, like balls.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So,
Know what I mean? Know what I mean?
especially the steel kind, they hang quite low. So one of the companies that Tom Spencer has is over the border. It's called Sol de Oro, which means golden sun, for
Mhm.
those who don't speak Spanish.
Whoa, those things look like golden suns, the balls.
They do look like golden. I did
Mhm.
not put that together, but yes,
They
they do
do.
look like golden suns. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
She puts together that, yes, that refinery goes over the border through probably an access road that leads directly to the ranch. And then from
Yes.
there, they fill up the trucks with the balls or whatnot, or with the cocaine, rather, the balls in Tom Spencer's ranch, and then et cetera, et cetera. And then they distribute it to what he's saying is all they have to do is go to one of the refineries in the res, let's say, and distribute it from there. And
Yep.
it's a perfect cover because nobody will be able to catch it from there. They'll be able to track it from there, which is why, again, why I was pointing to the idea that there would be no way that they don't have somebody there in the station to figure out the comings and goings of, let's say, even one of the trucks is pulled over or one of them is taken in. They would want to know from the police station, from the NTP, who was pulled over.
It wouldn't have to be Kayenta substation, though. It could be a different substation.
Could be Scarborough County, which is what Senna is, his is outside the res. So that's good point. Well, then, okay, this is, again, now it goes back to Gordo then, which I don't like.
Well, I'm saying there's other substations, Dave. There has to be. There's not one substation for the entirety of the res. It's huge.
Yeah,
True, but we
otherwise
don't
that
know
would
them,
just
so
be the
it's fine.
station rather than a substation.
we
Yeah.
we don't know them. They don't count anymore. They don't matter. It's got to be Gordo.
I don't want it to be Gordo. Shut up, Dave.
Me neither. Listen, you had me, and then I said, God damn it, you guys make sense. I listened to you, apparently.
Well, stop
not
it.
always
You don't.
right.
You don't most of the time.
I'm not always right. I'm admitting it live on air. No, I'll cut this out. Never mind.
He's gonna cut it out. He's gonna cut it out. Bernadette and Chi. So they have this awkward interaction. We did talk about that. Him asking her to come back home, and she says no. Sharon, you had mentioned it at the very beginning of the episode because you kind of talked about how that would turn the lights off for them permanently. I am not so sure about that.
I don't know about
Darkness
permanently.
falls.
The darkness will go away and the sun can rise again, but I was just saying that was what the darkness falls
Okay.
was referring to.
Well, same with Joe and Emma. That's
Yeah.
same difference. Yeah.
Seeing Bernadette's face when she went to Ivan's place, she's convinced herself that this is what she
Right.
needs to do.
This is how I fit in. If I do this, then I'm here. This is my home. And what she says can't bother me anymore. I won't miss them anymore
Well-
because I'll have a life here.
And she's
Yeah.
not giving herself an option.
She's digging her heels in, and I think she's going to regret it. I really do. I think it was a bad choice. I'm committing to being here, but also like this guy's interested in me, and so I'm just going to go with it. She likes him well enough.
Yes, I
But
agree.
the thing is that Chi coming back, I think, brought up some emotions that she thought, like, I don't have to think about this anymore. And it's part of the reason why I left is because, like, I don't want to deal with it.
Well, it's kind of a bigger thing too. Like even her going to Ivan's place outside the obvious, this is my snake pit. Now, you know what? If it's my snake pit, I'm going to bone Ivan Munoz. Okay, fine. But isn't that just like a microcosm of her decision to be at the CBP to begin with? What people or society tell you you ought to do versus
Kind
what
of.
you feel you should do?
Kind of. I just think that she is going to end up regretting the decision, especially because he might be involved in this trafficking thing.
Hmm.
Well, and also, it's never a good idea to date the people that you work with because if it does go
don't
south,
poop where you eat.
I agree with you. I think she's going to regret it immediately. She's going to wake up in the morning and be like, oh my God, what did I do? Why did I do that? That was stupid. I was reacting. Instead of responding to Cheese being there, she reacted to his being there and what he said.
I was so proud of him for finally saying it out loud.
He didn't really, though. That's the thing. And maybe that's partially why she's pissed. He doesn't. He says, come home. Doesn't say why.
Come home.
He does sort of. He says, I've been thinking about you. He doesn't say, you know what he does? And this would piss me off if I was Bernadette. When they're at the bar and Ivan comes up and it's very awkward with the chi, all that stuff. She says,
I'm going to say, if you love your work, it's not really work.
Everybody kind of looks at Bernadette. It's like, he said, I love you in the worst way possible, in my opinion.
Oh, I thought it was kind of a like, hey, you don't even really like it here reminder.
Agreed, but I think it's double entendre too. Yes, I 100 because off the heels of their, well, are you really hiding or are you really, oh, okay. Well, I love that exchange too because they both deserve that a little.
Yeah.
It's fine. One more than the other, but we all have favorites.
I know he didn't come out and say it, but that was as close as I think we were going to get at this moment.
And I agree. And that's the right thing to do.
And I was proud of him because that took a lot to get up and say, I have been thinking about you ever since you left and you should just come home. You don't even like it here. And what, you're building a home in a snake pit? It's just
But it's my snake pit.
What's dangerous? You don't know who you can trust. But she doesn't want to hear that because she's like, no, I want to do my own thing. And so she digs her heels in and she sleeps with Ivan. But if Ivan is part of this, this is going to be really bad.
I'm not even thinking that far
Yeah,
ahead.
even if Ivan isn't part of it, it's going to be bad.
Because it was a mistake. But I think if we look even further than that, if he ends up being part of this, this is going to be horrible. It's going to be a big heartbreak for her.
I'm not even thinking even the regret part because I can see a world in which she makes peace with that. I do have feelings for Ivan, genuinely, regardless of whether or not he's involved. In the moment, at least for now, this is where it's at. She shouldn't have regrets about that. And she is right. There is no us because I decided there is no us, and that's fine. And she understands that. This is why Chi doesn't come out and say, I want you to come home for us. He sort of says that, but he doesn't say the why, the I love you part, the I want there to be an us, I want there to be a thing, because I want you to come home. He doesn't say I want you to come home necessarily. He says because there's an us.
And he's been out in the world. She hasn't had this opportunity.
Agreed.
She hasn't had the chance to go out and try to make her own way where he has. So for him to stand there and say, this isn't what you want, excuse me, number
patronizing.
One, who are you to talk for me? And number two, you've had your chance. It's my turn to have a chance.
Mr. FBI in the first season.
The other reason that she can't at this point, the writing would be bad if she just accepted this and went back right away. It's not what we want. We would like them to be together, but the writing would be really bad if that was what were to happen right here, because it doesn't solve the long-term issue of Bernadette does not have the movement to grow on the rest. There's no upward trajectory because there's nowhere for her to go.
Yes, that's true. So I was really giving Bernadette some defense, but also I think there's a Chi element to this as well. There is a bit more growth from Chi between the shorty stuff and realizing that home could be a place where he could live that isn't a viper's nest or snake pit or whatnot. He could make things right.
Yeah.
And that's his journey and that's fine. But what I think in all of that is that he doesn't want, and maybe this is me projecting, I'm going to acknowledge that right now. Maybe he doesn't want to be the source of a possible regret. Let's say Bernadette comes home. It's because he says, I love you, please come back. The actual I love you and I want to work on us and all this stuff. And there isn't us. And I believe in it more than you probably do, but it's there and let's do this. So there could be possible regret on her part that she didn't follow through. Like Sharon D was saying, is that, you did your thing and let me do mine. And then when I'm ready, I'll come home, whatever. Maybe I won't. But two, don't we all know that what might have been? One follows the other. He doesn't want to be the one to say come home, she comes home, and it would be a source of resentment between them.
Sure.
Down the line.
I could see that.
And if he were to be the one to say, I love you, it would be almost like, not gaslighting per se, but it'd be the one thing that he knows would get her to come home. And he doesn't want to use that card because I think he doesn't want there to be any doubt in her mind that that's where she should be. He tells her, but he doesn't say, I love you.
That is the best way to do it.
Which is pretty wise on his part. And I think that's been the sole reason why he hasn't said, even over the phone, it was in the last episode, and he kind of held his breath and kind of almost choked on his tears a bit.
We're talking about Chi growing. I have a wild theory. It came to me while I was laying in bed last night after watching the episode and I couldn't sleep because I was just like,
like
just
lights,
thinking about it.
Gotcha.
I kept coming back to Chi telling Bernadette about how he has been interacting with Shorty and how she's like, but he's horrible. He's a horrible person. And he's like, oh, he's not so bad. And then I was like, wait, okay. We've loved the interaction with Shorties. We love that Chi is growing. But what if Shorty still is a horrible person? And
He
he's
probably
just
still is.
really good at playing this up right now, this victim angle with Chi.
I don't know that we have enough data from our perspective.
I kind of want to keep a close eye on this. I want to believe that he's not that bad of a guy, but
Bernadette put it in your brain to kind of examine.
she did. And I was like, why did they put that line in then?
Because she's right. Because he still has his mom's land and whatnot.
So there is like something that's not right. Bernadette even says, you have to be the one to go get your land back. Otherwise, none of this means anything. The forgiveness, all of it.
He moved his trailer onto the land next to his mom's old Hogan. So he's back on his land.
Yeah, whether it's on the land or adjacent, we don't know. But
I think that's part of why he's living in a place where he's forced to confront his past, and he's doing it alone. Because the person that he was there to confront his past along with, Bernadette, has gone. So now he's there in this place where all these terrible things happened, and he's there alone, forced to go through it alone.
And one could say that's his own snake pit.
Yeah, that's true, Dave. That's a good analogy. That line was written in there for a reason.
And I did follow that thought through, by the way, because I had the same thoughts as you.
The line is written there for a reason. They would have just cut it if it didn't mean something. And my fear is that there have to be people on the reservation involved in the trafficking. What if Shorty is involved in it?
Okay, great thought. This makes what I'm about to say a little bit more rich, because my thought is whether or not they find George Bowlegs, Shorty's son, alive or dead, I think it would mean a lot for Shorty to know that she did everything that he could possible to either find him or find his killers, to know the exact ins and outs of it. And to what you're saying, it would explain even further why Shorty is so cagey. Shorty is cagey because of Chi's relationship with him, obviously, and what the res thinks about him too, and his dad and their history and all that stuff, because that's what it is, reconciling with history. But what you said makes it even more rich, because if there is some sort of involvement, he will feel like, yes, I contributed to his death.
Well, let's say George isn't dead. We haven't seen a body. Here's my thought. What kind of Navajo doesn't act like a Navajo man?
Chi?
Shorty. It's what Chi says to Shorty. What kind of Navajo are you out there whistling at night? Who would feel comfortable taking an artifact and shoving it up into someone's mouth?
Okay.
So it crossed my mind last night. I'm not saying it's a thing. It was just one of those things that like my brain kind of went there and I was like, I don't know. Maybe this is a piece of it.
We talked about how Bernadette's leaving made her grasp onto the tribe more, and the people that stayed, like Chi, tended to not grasp onto ceremonies and whatnot. Like, that doesn't go for everybody, because obviously Emma lived there and she knows all the ceremonies and stuff like that. What you're saying about Shorty, if he lived there his whole life and I don't do the ceremonies and stuff, I don't believe in all that crap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you know what, Bridget, I'm so
Wasn't he also in the military? Which will
He
also
was.
drum superstition and stuff like that out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I was going to take it a little bit further than that. Even though Shorty's found on the ground, face down in the cabin, I keep thinking there must be some sort of connection to Shorty and maybe what's been happening. Could be spooky beta-esque, it could be spiritual or whatnot, but Shorty's responsible for that in some form or fashion. And he could have been the one that killed Halsey.
He went in by himself. What if he told his son to hide or run?
Right.
There's options here that we haven't really talked about or looked at, and it popped into my head yesterday. I'm not sold on this 100% or anything. It just was a path that my brain took.
Let me add a little bit more to this, because, and maybe this is the closer, because when she goes up to Shorty and asks him about, hey, did you know there's a chili farm nearby? Shorty's immediate response is like, oh, they're responsible? It's like he's raring to go after these hippies. That's another thing in your corner. And then, true to form, next episode, Halsey gets the necktie of a certain region.
Stop saying it that way. He gets his throat slit, Dave.
Well, he gets it clawed, it looks more like.
Yeah.
Oh, same way that Leaphorn's arm was, maybe.
Yeah. During the interpretation scene, Joe could not act any more suspicious.
Oh my God.
What are you doing? I get it. He's all frazzled because of the supernatural and he's freaked out and all that. But my dude, you got to be on the ball. Do you think that the old man really saw him and just was covering it up? Because there was a look between the two of them.
I felt like he had seen it and he was willing to lie because this woman's white and I don't know who she is. And
Right.
no skin off my back to say I couldn't actually see the person. But he did give too much information.
He also
he gave
doesn't
the
want to lie.
GMC.
GMC.
He didn't have to say he saw anything at all. That would have
He
been
didn't have to say
the
it like
best way to
that.
go. But
And he could
I
have said
don't know.
another car brand. Come on, man.
I know. He could have said a
I'm
Chevy
kidding.
or something and it would have been fine. But
The car that Halsey takes after he burns the truck
Ford
is
Falcon.
a Ford Falcon.
A 1960 Ford Falcon, to be
Falcons
specific.
are messengers from the spirit world in Native American mythology.
God damn it. I thought it just looked cool. I really did think
Actually,
it
I
looked
thought
cool.
it was a Corvair at first. I had to ask Dennis what it was because I was like, is that a
Right.
Corvair?
I was very, but then it was a Ford. So I don't know. The sheep herder is beaming a look to Leaphorn, right? Here's what I was thinking that he was saying. Why are you putting your neck in this coyote's mouth? Why? What are you doing? And then I think he just stopped short of saying that he recognized who it was. It was too dark. He can say only so much. And wouldn't that be a mirror for what Leaphorn did to Vines anyway? He didn't kill him, but he led him to his death. It's just a perfect mirror. It's like, I'm not going to be the one to execute you because, first of all, I didn't do the thing the sheep herder's thinking. But I'm in this situation here and I don't want to have to come back here. I'm so old.
The sheep herder's also like, I don't give a crap about some rich old white man, literally.
no.
But on the other
Screw that
hand,
guy.
he does point out the make at the very least, and that where it was too, he didn't have to point that out either. And if he lied, they can always probably corroborate it some other way that this is his normal route from another neighbor
At
or
first,
whatnot.
I thought because they were speaking in Dene, maybe the old man would say that it was Joe, and then Joe would say that it was something else, and like Sylvia was going to have the tape listened to and checked by somebody else to make sure that Joe was telling the truth. Again, part of this was putting him in a position in which he felt extremely vulnerable and uncomfortable, so she could gauge how he was responding. Not
I
because she
100%
wanted to
agree.
know about the sheep
And
herder, but she wanted to know how
he
Joe was going to react.
Responded very poorly.
Suspiciously. I have to say, though, Jenna's portrayal of Sylvia in that moment was really great. She did a thing that is societally expected now, but didn't used to be. It just goes to show that she is like engaged in this interrogation.
I'm engaged in what you're about to say.
Typically, people have commented about this, especially deaf people. Oftentimes, people will begin to speak only to the interpreter. Their eye contact will go towards the interpreter. Everything will go towards the interpreter because that makes sense to our brain because we're normally used to giving eye contact to the person that we're talking to. The other person is talking to you, though. So this is like a faux pas to do this when there's an interpreter. The whole time she shifted her body and she was facing the old man to ensure that when she's asking a question, she was asking him.
Because you're really talking to the person,
Yeah,
not to
you
the
are.
interpreter.
So it's interesting to see. So
I want to respond or compliment what you're saying because it's interesting to see the shoe on the other foot or the other privileged foot or whatnot. Because, hey, this is not your home court. And so in response, the sheep herder doesn't even look at her.
no,
He looks only at
he only looks at Leaphorn.
And we know why intrinsically, but let's say on the surface of things, to her, it appears as though he doesn't have nothing to do with me. He's just like, who's this bitch?
Well, it's an outsider. She's an outsider.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's a dead eye looking at, well, he has a dead eye, but he's
And
looking at Leaphorn.
Let me also
Danae,
say,
and,
him not looking at her, he was of an age where for a person with his skin color to look at a white woman would be dangerous.
Could have been dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah.
At his
definitely.
age, Lou? Sorry.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
That was
He's still got a
ingrained.
chance,
It
people.
would have
He
been
still has a
ingrained.
chance. I just want to see that porn.
Oh no.
Anyway, it's a Budge and what did I say before? Budge and
No,
who's
it
the
was
dancer?
cheap.
Oh,
It was
Budge
cheap
and-
porn.
well, that was in the last episode. This episode is Budge in Washington, so it's Budgington production because they're
I
both
hate-
dancers, Jenna and
I
Raoul.
hate that you're
Anyway.
creating shell companies. Like I don't.
it's AGS pornography.
It's like I don't like that you're creating shell companies
Is
for
that
this. I
what they're
don't-
shipping?
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Mexican corn. I mean,
Yeah, corn.
Yeah, just one letter off. Just to add a little bit more of a tag to that, it goes to why I feel like she's a middle ground character. Despite what we've learned from Jenna herself and maybe what we're to take from that character, she gives due respect to everybody involved, even Lee Porn, even at least in appearance, going so far as to say, you are above suspicion for many episodes. I'm not even counting you among the people who I will interview. And up until this episode where she kind of goes, yes, I know, Bridget, you're making that face. Well, again, by appearances is what I'm saying. Which goes to say, I respect
Putting
you enough
him
to...
at ease so that he lets his guard down and makes a mistake.
And this is why I feel like, I'm not saying that she's not real, but I'm saying this is why it's so apropos to compare her to the coyote, because in a sense, she's playing with her prey. And I think her best weapon as a coyote is to put him into a position where he confesses. Because I think that's the most convenient, and also it's the guillotine drop. It's the killing blow that she could have in this whole scenario, because she has evidence, circumstantial at best, that it is him. But she wants something that's airtight. And what better airtight, her move on the poker table is to get that confession, because it would leave no doubt who the killer was. And I think this is what all of this has been leading up to. In a way, let's even go further. Let's go with the evil path, right? I think in a way, it's torture. It's kind of like Budge. And I think that's the method she's choosing, or that she prefers in this whole scenario. And to do that right, she has to make it where her prey has nowhere else to run. She may get a kick out of it, is what I'm saying.
As a woman, one of the first women to come out of the academy, she does have something to prove. And going after someone like Joe and then it not being the case, if she's wrong, would be super, super, super bad. So she has to make sure that everything is 100% locked down. She had to wait until she had some kind of evidence. GMC truck, this is the only one. She had to wait until she had a solid enough case to bring forward to Joe, because otherwise he could find ways to make something, whatever she was thinking, disappear or whatever.
Because Gorda becomes the voice of reason in that respect. Like, even if she has the GMCs, she doesn't have him.
Right. So she has to make sure that she has everything in a row before she tries to bring a case, because something like that could absolutely, A, destroy her career, because she's a woman in 1972.
Because her deck is stacked.
And also, she's probably under a lot of pressure, just in the sense that she's carrying the load for future women. If the first woman to come out of the academy fails, then what is that going to do for other women getting into the academy?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point. I'm not ready to say that, but I will say I'm looking at this more from if my deck is stacked and his deck is stacked, I have to make it so that my stuff is airtight, even more than what would be normally necessary to what you're saying. Because if I get this wrong, it's a huge blunder for not just me, but for the administration. She represents the federal government. There's already hard stuff between the federal government and Native Americans at that time. This is when we were starting to roll things back. The Native American crying on the PSA, that was in the 70s. So this is already a time where we're trying to move in a positive direction when it comes to Native American relations.
This is exactly what Garza said to Bernadette. You're only going to have one shot at this. We've got to come in guns blazing. She's got to do this the right way, or it's not going to work out at all.
Isn't the expression, we shouldn't go in guns blazing? Because if you go in guns blazing without adequate, if you don't have him pinned down, right? I think she meant it a different way.
What Garza said was, hey, if we're going to do this, we got to do this full force, but it's got to be the right way. Now, that's not really what she was saying. What she was saying was, I need time to cover my own butt is actually what it was, but it's similar. So that's interesting that similarity exists between Sylvia and Garza also.
By the way, great. I love that you put it in that way. Furthermore, I just want to ask one question. Do you think that Bernadette suspects Garza yet?
No.
Okay, that's interesting. I thought maybe for a second, because of that conversation, she may have had suspicions.
If you watch her when she's getting ready to talk to Garza, she looks all around the room like she's sizing everybody up. Can I talk to them? And then she goes to Garza. And I don't think that she suspects Garza for anything. I also think she's leaning on the, hey, you're a woman too, so I can trust you.
And then going back to the repeating theme of not everything is as it seems, Garza.
When you're the first, I say this for race, sex, color, when you're the first to go into something and you feel like you have to band with others like you.
Or the impulse, yeah, sure.
The only two women in the Border Patrol are going to connect and have a bond. And it's just simply because she's another woman. I feel like Bernadette trusts her because of that.
I think to some degree that's also why they've connected with Ivan, because they're all indigenous peoples.
Mhm.
So
Right.
they're kind of
right.
grouping themselves together because it feels like that's going to be more comfortable and more stable.
The impulse to tribe up is
Yeah.
natural. It's evolutionary.
You understand me because you are like me.
You're going through the
Yeah.
same thing
Mhm.
I'm going
Mhm.
through. Ivan doesn't to the same degree that Garza and Bernadette do, obviously, because he's a man.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, what?
But I mean, the indigenous peoples part of it, he does understand.
Okay. I just want to say this out loud. In my notes, it literally says, Bern gets booty call from Ivan after Chi drives off. Just want to say booty call out loud. That's all.
Thanks, I hate it.
I know, everybody does.
No, Bernadette, no.
Just doing it because of what she said.
It's funny how I feel two things at once.
She is so wrong. I'll show him. I'm going to go bang Ivan.
I'll show him. I'll use my feminine wiles.
And darkness falls. If you like what we've heard, first of all, thank you for listening to what we've been cooking. This little pot of whatever this is.
Chilies.
Chili and chi. I hate myself.
I hate you too.
First off, if you haven't liked this video on YouTube, give that a like. Let us know how we're doing in the comments. It really helps us figure out if we're on the money and if we're doing something right. If you like what you've heard, wherever you're listening to this or watching this, head on over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead.
5 stars and a blazing sun.
Is all we need to know that you love us. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us what we might have missed. Just remember to tell us. It's the most free way to support this podcast. It's to tell us after every single episode. It really helps us. It takes a couple of minutes, not even. And it helps the podcast grow. It helps other people want to listen to this podcast. Share this thing out wherever you feel like it's worth sharing. These things are so easy. And that's if you think we deserve it. And if you really think we deserve it, you could help support the podcast directly by tipping us on Ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. When you do, we like to give things back. There are tons of unlocked posts at Ko-fi that you can get for 30 days. After that, forever access to our Discord server where we have tons of conversations on the side. And I just introduced the intro to this podcast, these episode breakdowns in our Discord, which nobody saw or commented on, which I'm very upset about. Thanks, team. Everybody's got a life or something. It's really weird. Tons of things that I tend to drop in development that I want you guys to hear, even before they're fresh and ready. But take your support further. Consider joining a membership on either patreon.com/squawkingdead or ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Say you join the Whispers tier for as little as $4 a month. You will get that much more access to our Discord server. Join the Whispers tier, Survivors tier, or Great M tier. You will get a free classic t-shirt upon signing up, along with a ton of perks. Join the Survivors or Great M tier. You can show up alongside us in these episode breakdowns, not necessarily these episode breakdowns, but usually in other episode breakdowns, telling the world what you think about these episodes alongside us. We will tell you you're wrong and why, but you'll also tell us, hey, F you, Squawking Dead, I'm right, and I also paid for me to be right. Join the Great M tier. You will be a producer of the show. It's the greatest ish tier. You get to join our core channel, and again, you can join us on screen, but you can also tell us even more what to do because you've earned that right, and you'll be a part of the development calls and conversations and helping us decide what we need to do in life, as well as the podcast. I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt, first of all, who had to leave because she was in pain.
Lazy Gardner.
And Bridget. You can find me at ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's PUNKY BRUISETER.
And thank you again for listening and watching, and we really do appreciate it. We're taking a chance on the series. We really like it, and I hope you like it too. And if you're not here, well, then you haven't heard this, and that's fine. We still love you, but please come back. I'm hoping that the Skinwalker Spirit Wraith will just tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, come back and watch Squawking Dead. That's my hope, even though you're not here listening to us. So, okay, everybody, can't wait for the next episode. I really, really cannot wait for the next episode breakdown, and I hope you join us for that. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Triggered.
What kind of Navajo man are you, Dave?
I'm Negan.
It's daytime. It's
I'm
okay.
Negan. Yeah.
I am Negan. We are Negan.
Thank you yet again for making it to another episode of Squawking Dead, covering Dark Wind's 4th episode of its 3rd season titled Chahalheel. Like I said earlier, I'm really, really glad to have you here. It makes such a difference to us. A little bit of housekeeping before I continue and acknowledge our supporters. We had just gotten a hold of episodes 7 and 8 in the hopes of actually interviewing a cast member from the show. Fingers crossed on that. The episodes alone make it so that we can tie this season of Dark Winds in a bow neatly with enough time to research what we need to research before recording, to be able to release these episodes on time. And we really can't do any of that without your support. Sharing these episodes with other people so that they can get on board, increase our audience numbers. That exposes us to more advertisers or sponsors. Every little tiny thing that you can do that doesn't even involve monetary support is really, really helpful in helping us grow and making it so that we can do this full time. Increasing the amount of content that we have, maybe shorter content too. So like I say at every episode, whether it's supporting us on Ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or Patreon.com/squawkingdead or just a simple like on a video, every little bit that you do helps. And as we always do at the end of every episode, consider joining a membership tier on either Patreon or Ko-fi so that you can help support this show that you love, like these people did, our Great M Survivors and Whisperers tier members in that order. Starting with the Great M tier, we have at Real Ryan GM on Instagram and X. Moving on to our Survivors tier, we have Douglas Atherton at Walking Dead Artist the number 2 on Instagram. In the Whisperers tier, we have at Eliza Jones 71 on Instagram and at Kim.Rowley the number 1 on Facebook. Cannot wait to release the next episode. Can't wait for you to hear it. We already have it in the tank, ready to go practically. Just need to edit it. We want to know what you think in the comments on Spotify or YouTube or wherever comments are made available where you're listening to it, hopefully. And in the meantime, just remember that we are Squawking Dead.